Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Trackmania. My beautiful face is right back here alongside two equally or even more beautiful faces. I am your host, as always, or maybe not as always. Last time it was a little bit different, but I've yet to catch up on that. However, I am TMScotsman, your love, your dear, everyone's favorite ray of sunshine in the world, which I'm taking full credit for. But my rays of sunshine today, as always, are LuckersTurbo and Mr. Shorty. And never to forget, we of course have Erwin Weber bringing the podcast, as always, on behalf of ESAC.gg. However, guys, I was not here last week. I have not been keeping track of Trackmania whatsoever, as my entirety of my waking hours have been working. So I haven't even seen last week's podcast, guys. So, you need to tell me how you were doing last week and how you were doing this week. Turbo, get me up to date on what's going on with you.
So yeah, I was hosting last week. Firstly, of course, welcome to all the people who are also in the chat. Welcome to you as well. Welcome back. Nice seeing you. I mean, it was great to have 1 week off from you, but it's also glad to have you back. Hopefully I had a good time there. But yeah, last week we were talking with Eric about his tournament, and in general, just had a little or a good talk. It was very, very pleasing, and it kind of brought me back, not the hope, but the excitement for the next year of Trackmania. That's how I felt, at least after that. I mean, I had a little bit of a fever. I felt very comfy in that talk. It was great. It was a very good podcast. I would recommend watching that or hearing from that, because it was 2 hours long. You know, we had a good time. But maybe Toby can also give us his impression. And of course, guys, the most important question: how are both of you doing, actually?
I'm doing great. I don't know I mean, I do remember, but I remember listening to a podcast about how to sort things out in life, and you just always said how important it is to clean up your room and stuff. And I cleaned up my room a little bit by bit every day, and it brightens myself. That's good so far. University is as always. I keep repeating myself, but yeah, yes, last week was insane. It was really fun. It was a nice podcast. I mean, you can see it just by that we talked for 2 hours. We did miss you. I think you would have really enjoyed.
What do you mean you think?
I mean, the thing is, how can we miss you when it was a really nice talk, you know? Like, back in my mind, I was like, yeah, it would be cool if Scotty would be here as well, but I still enjoyed it anyway, you know? No, we definitely missed you there. It would have been nice. It was a really great talk with Eric about this tournament, and I fully agree with Kai. The excitement was really there. You could feel it. The more we talked about it, the more infos he kind of shared about also like how things are going on his point of view. It really was just insane. In all kind of aspects you can imagine. Also, it was super funny just to listen to Kai moderating and starting the stream, not really knowing what he should do.
I tried though.
Yeah, it ain't easy to be me.
I like it, you know.
It's authentic, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
why I liked it.
The first times when I remember the first times when I like started a cast, I was like, yeah, what should I say now in the first couple of 10 minutes? Yeah. But you grow into that, and that was the same with the podcast. Next time it's gonna be good, but it's like this first time you're gonna do something like that. You're like not a bit nervous, but you're like, okay, what do I say now? You know, you're used to that, but still there's some pressure on you because you don't want to disappoint. I don't know, it's weird, but hey, well, I mean, true, the excitement is there, but I'm just not talk. Go ahead, and I just interrupted.
Yeah, it was really nice. You know, nothing more to add to that. I think just if you didn't listen last week, you should definitely catch up on that. Same for you, Scotty. I think you might want to hear what he said as well. And how are you doing? How was your week off? And are you excited to be with us again? And are you excited to talk 1.5 hours at least about great things that happened in Trackmania?
Oh, man, I'm always ready. I mean, that's part of why I'm actually still here. But yeah, I mean, I had a fantastic...
Sorry to interrupt, but I don't know when else to say it. I'm also happy to hear you now, your voice in high quality with your... I don't know how expensive that microphone was. And yes, we are just happy that we understood what went wrong with you.
Yes.
And now we can hear you crystal clear how it was supposed
Oh
to
yeah,
be.
because this is the
Just took
first
50
podcast
episodes.
that we've actually had
Yes.
like it sitting properly. I'm pretty sure when we first started this, it was correct. And then it made me angry for some reason, and I changed it. Anyway, we're as long as
I thought
we're
you
all
got a
good
new
now.
microphone, actually. I was
No.
asking that like 20, 30 episodes ago. I remember that. And you were like, no. And I was like, in my head, yes. And that's why I just didn't ask it. Didn't ask for it.
But yes, I'm doing very well, thank you. I've spent the entirety of last week, so from Monday the 15th, I believe, until just yesterday. I got home at 10 p.m. yesterday, working on Esports Scotland's Scottish Esports League 4. It was a LAN event which was held in Dundee in Scotland. We had a good few number of games. We had like the Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Valorant, League of Legends, Rocket League, Rainbow Six Siege. But it's really very different, having played at many LAN events and now working at a LAN event. When you're having your starting event on Thursday, we're there from Monday working like 12, 13-hour shifts every day just to actually get the event ready, and this was a relatively small scale event. I couldn't ask for a better team to work with. The events team over at Esports Scotland are absolutely fantastic people. Had a fantastic time with them. Very stressful, but I'm now back. I'm that drained from it that I actually forgot the podcast was happening until I checked my Discord DMs. I'm like, wait, let's not talk Trackmania. When's this supposed to be again? Because I'm thinking it starts at 8 p.m. because I always like post online that it starts at 8 p.m. But then I remember I post for European people. So for me, it's actually 7. So I got horrifically confused. And I was like, shit, I need to eat my entirety of my dinner in like 5 minutes. But yeah. So yeah, that was a little bit rough. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be listening to you guys once again. And like I said, I don't exaggerate when I say I've literally not had a chance, barely even to look at my phone for messages, never mind for Trackmania content, since last Monday. Unfortunately, I have not been kept up to date, guys. So, Turbo, you were the host last week, try to fill my shoes. Why don't you take away and tell me what we should be talking about today?
We can talk about the tournaments. Like Eric's tournament, I think that he is right now planning, and also his mindset behind that, because I think he gave us some good insights, like how he's selling himself, how he's approaching that tournament, and why.
I know how Eric sells himself.
Really, if he's not drunk, he is really very professional, let's say it like that, and he's putting in a lot of effort into that, and you can really see it. It's like you meet him in Prague, you meet him in Prague. He's losing his purse, running away from the taxi, being hung over for 2 days, versus the Eric that is just organizing the biggest Trackmania tournament. Like, that is Eric in a nutshell. But to give you a little bit of a summary. So Eric is organizing a tournament of 50,000 euro or 500,000 krowners in his hometown to bring Trackmania back, and also to give something back to Trackmania and bring Trackmania back into his hometown, which is, I think, a city of 2,000 or a village of 2,000 to 4,000 people, if I was recalling it correctly. And he wants to connect this tournament together with other activities. So the spirit behind that is not that players just travel there, play the LAN, and go away again. So that people actually go there for 1 week and see the nature, see the village, see where Eric is growing up. And he tries to find sponsors with that. And I think he's doing it on a very professional and good approach, or with a very professional and good approach, by taking, you know what, I have Cole Jr., he is already playing the best player of all time, and in general just selling the game at its highest, saying he's the community person of the year and stuff. That was also a good discussion, because that's a title that we have given him as the community, and it's like you kind of underestimate yourself, and he's just using all of that to kind of try to create the best tournament out there, and also try to pressure the sponsors, not pressuring in there, but he says, this has so much potential, better hop in now than when it's too late. That was what he was saying, but it was just a very interesting talk. I cannot summarize everything, but it was it is very promising what he was actually talking about. So I think that this tournament will work out.
Yeah, obviously, right. Sorry, what do you want to say?
Maybe you can before Paul says, maybe Shorty, if I missed something, maybe you can add it.
Yeah, I don't think you missed something in specific, but something I remember really well what he said is that he's putting everything on the line with the event, and he's not only creating one Trackmania tournament just for fun and shits and giggles. Obviously, he wants to do it for the community as well, and wants to give back as much as possible. But also, his goal is to make a profession out of it. You know, he's trying to make a career for himself of that as well. You know, if it runs well, that event, there might be more of that kind of event. Obviously, there might be Meloy in like every single year, maybe, or something like that. You don't know, but basically, he's really trying for more than just hosting one simple tournament. He's trying to create a profession out of it, and I think that's really nice because you can see we always, that's basically always what we talked about, right? We always talk in this podcast about how somebody just needs to create an event, and that this game has so much potential, and nobody just really does something with the potential. And Eric is literally doing exactly what we asked for so long. So I'm really happy for that. Just for that itself, I don't really. I mean, obviously, I do care about how things turn out, but just for the fact that he's doing exactly what we want is already making me happy. And now I obviously want it to succeed as well.
Yeah, and also,
fine then. You keep talking. This is just like my podcast, except it's everyone else that keeps talking instead of me.
One other thing that I wanted to add that Toby also has like briefly mentioned, but is that to bring also the community together, that people from the community will try to not organize it, but you have the casters, you have the players, and also maybe that a lot of people are actually coming and will be invited to the event, so that we have like a very, very family friendly or like familiar atmosphere there, but of course also outsiders. So now you can talk.
Am I allowed to talk now? Shorty, can I get a confirmation I'm also allowed to talk?
I can confirm you're allowed to talk as long as possible, as you want now.
As long as possible, okay.
As long as you want, not as long as possible.
See ya. Next podcast. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to say too much onto that, as obviously I'll need to go back and catch up on it myself. But I mean, we've always like the initial kind of point from when I heard about it, that like on further reflection was like, oh, how has Eirik been able to do this and Nadil haven't and stuff like that. And I think that's a very unfair point to make. I know Scotty not talking shit about Nadil for once. Who's this new Scotty coming back after it? But yeah, I think it's an approach to getting a tournament together, which I feel is very unique. As of course, he as an individual taking an approach to organizing an event with deep connections to the primary, I would say sponsor, but the primary kind of benefactor of this event, which is an area, as a city, the village, whatever you want to call it. It's local companies, it's local people that are getting invested in Eirik's esports project. And I mean, for all the shit I could talk about Nadil, that's not exactly something they can do, So I mean, I do think it's very unfair to kind of compare the projects that Eirik is doing against the projects Nadil is doing. I would simply then instead look at what this means for Trackmania in general. And I, for one, was always at least trying to say, I mean, I forget if I ever did say that. I probably did. I'm the kind of person that says things 5 times, then forget I ever said it. But I think there really did need to be another show in town that wasn't Trackmania Grand League. It reminds me of back in the days of wrestling in like the late 90s and early 2000s. Some of the people's favorite times in wrestling was when the main competition of, the main organization of World Wrestling Federation, or WWF, had a severe competitor in WCW, or World Championship Wrestling. And around that time was when people have their most highly regarded kind of stints in both of those companies. People very, very fondly remember those times. However, when one of the companies bought over the other, the people felt like the quality dropped. And not necessarily to say that that's the case being for Trackmania Nadeo's projects. But I feel when you have no competition, there is less of an incentive to strive. Whereas if you need to, compete against another person, then you are pressured to go that extra 10%. Like, I mean, Carl Jr. wouldn't have been the same Carl Jr. if he didn't have the likes of Tween, Spam, Massa, Pack, all challenging him to be the very, and Kappa as well, just so he doesn't come and beat me up in my DMs. But if he didn't have all of these kind of people driving him to be the very best of all time, he wouldn't have had the same impact that he would have, as he wouldn't have had those people, pushing him to the next level. And I mean, you guys will know that yourselves, that you really unlock your highest potential when you are pushed to be there by someone else and not necessarily yourself.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually. Also, the wrestling quote there, or the wrestling incident, or the time there, I can just agree with that. I mean, I rewatched all of those things back then. It was just great. It was very, very good. And I hope that, I mean, Trackmania Grand League is not particularly a bad format, but maybe they have that, okay, maybe we are not the main event anymore. Maybe this kind of regard. Maybe something is coming up, or they just be the events next to each other, that they're not interfering with each other, because that was also a topic that was very important for Eric, that there's World Cup, there's the Rated Cup, there's World Cup, and then there is his event, that every event is in 1 month, and players have enough time to practice the maps, that they're not interfering with each other.
Yeah, that's a good mindset. I mean, at some point, depending on how big a game grows, you won't be able to always have a completely free time slot, so things and tournaments will override each other a little bit, but right now we don't have enough in Trackmania. We definitely do have free time slots, and it's great that it works out like that. So you can participate in every single event, in theory, if you want to.
Yeah. In theory. Some are overlapping, but usually those are the smaller cups. Yeah. But you can play everything in theory. But of course, if you play Trackmania Grand League and it's very draining mentally for you, you don't want to play Trackmania Formula League on Sunday, for example. Even though it's only a fun event, yeah.
It's a fun event, but it's a taxing fun event. Like, not because you have to like full try hard, but because it's kind of long,
And you have to think.
It's an endurance event.
And you have to think what you have to do.
Yeah, or you just don't think at all, and you just notice, oh, wait a minute, I should have pitted this round.
Yeah, the shorty tactic.
Contrary to some people, I did not, in fact, do it for the content. I just forgot to pit because I was, somebody went in my stream and said something to me, and I was already like pissed because, let's be honest, it's not TMFL fault, but my performance, like game performance, was really bad on Sunday. So I just, I got annoyed. I started making more mistakes than I should have. So I got even more annoyed. I was not concentrated. Then somebody talked to me in my chat about something. I wrote that. I was talking to him. I didn't really notice a lot of things. I'm bad at math, and I just miscalculated when to go into the pit, and I just looked at my fuel at some point, seeing, oh, wait a minute, I have 3 liters of fuel left. What the fuck is wrong here? Wait, why am I first? And then I somehow had to coast into. But yeah, I survived at least.
Yeah, imagine being bad at maths and studying computer science. Nice.
It's so fun. Every single race we have like 3 people or 5 people at least in the Discord, and every single time I'm asking, we pit in like 2 laps, right? Guys, we pit next lap, okay? Guys, pit now, okay? Yes. I'm always waiting for the confirmation because I'm just not trusting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see why.
Can you imagine real F1 teams like that?
I would be so bad as a real fault. But I think they do get told what to do. I mean, depending on the player and team, they do have more or less to say about what to do themselves. But I think there definitely are some drivers that just leave it to other people fully what they are doing, except the driving part, of course. But the pit strategies and stuff, I don't think the drivers really think too much about it, because you obviously have to fully concentrate on what you're doing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think the TMFL project, I mean, I still feel bad for the fact that I qualified in Division 1 the first time around and then never played. So I was one of the people that was, an arsehole, shall we say.
Pathetic, just searching confirmation.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Kind of.
I'm the villain in this story, but, whatever. Anyway, like the one of the few Twitter posts that I managed to keep hold of was to do with Trackmania Formula League. But bring me up to date, guys. What's like this Saturday Sunday results been like? Who's coming out on top in the likes of TMFL now, OGL, Challenger Series? What's this week's roundup of events?
So Trackmania Formula League has ended. I mean, I was casting it as well, besides that one step where I broke my arm, but it's also going better now already. But we have Patrose being in second place behind Wosal, and also Danik B taking the third place. So we see a different player on third position. Also Danik B being invested into the Trackmania Formula League. Cool seeing that.
Nice to see, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people behind. I think Shorty, you're on fourth or fifth.
I don't know where I am. I think I might even be 7th or something like that, because I didn't finish 4 races out of 10.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
So yeah.
So yeah, Dexter didn't get third because he forgot to just say that he cannot attend. So he got a -40 for that race. But that's a different story. But yeah, let's talk about Trackmania Grand League again. Step 6 is we're coming to an end, and we see in the Challenger League that Mime was taking the ×5 multiplier with a hilarious cast on my end from Anix. That was very nice. He has retained the lead again, and behind him we have Otak, then Hedra, and who's on 4th place? Evon, I think. Evon is on 4th position. Yeah, so the top 4 is going on, but I actually checked the rulebook. It's not like that. It's actually different, and the format again is way too dank. So
wait, what?
Yeah, it's absolutely dank. So the top 8 is playing against each other in like a lap format. I think they play 1 lap on each map, and concerning to their positions, they get like 15, 12, 10, some sort of points after each round, and they play I think 5 maps twice. So a little bit like this head-to-head qualifier back then when Granadi lost against Worker. But it's so dang. But the first position is important because they get bonus points going into that.
Okay, yeah.
So
how many?
I think 100 even, so a lot.
Ooh,
and then
yeah,
80 for second. And I mean, if first place is worth 15 points, that is a lot though. So
it's way too dank, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So still a player has a lot of potential to make it if you practice, but it's like so hard to understand. And I can just agree with that from Skraken. You have to enroll to university to understand that format. Like if you're not into that, like how would you grasp and understand that thing? But it's like something that I was also very surprised of, because like the top 1 player, they for me again, a player from the Trackmania Grand League Challenger, and we also had that topic as well, Paul, in some of the previous episodes. The Trackmania Grand League feels so exclusive. You know, they have to imagine you are in the top 8. You have to be top 8 in Trackmania Grand League Challenger. You have to have some sort of points. You have to make it into the top 4 then win another match against someone from the top 4 you play against. So 1st versus 4th, 2nd versus 3rd, and then you have to play the match against the loser from the head-to-head, which is either the 13th against 16th or the 14th against 15th. Like, how many matches do you want this person to play? Like, that was my thinking again. Like, 10 million matches are out there. And then you're not even guaranteed having a slot. Imagine you play against Spam in the head-to-head. It could happen, but I doubt that. And then you're like, okay, cool. he would beat you probably with his experience only.
That's weird again, right? The thing is, I do think that there should be something after the steps, because as we all agree on the point system, you know, it's a show. Okay, yes, that's cool, but you can see that the top 8, okay, getting top 8, all cool and fine, but for the first couple of positions, if you're 1st or 2nd, the multipliers are just way too deciding for that. So I definitely do agree that there should be something else to decide the full and final positions for the challenger. But yeah, obviously it makes things very complicated. You know, it would maybe be easier to just have the finals from the TMGL and the finals from the TMGL Challenger League just be the same format. You know,
Yeah.
maybe Saturday finals of TMGL Challenger League, and then Sunday the finals of the TMGL. And you know, having the same concept. So you at least have some sort of similarity and it's easier to understand. Not have 5 or 6 different concepts, you know. I mean, having multiple steps is fine. You can sort of understand that because it's needed, obviously. But having different formats for everything just makes it more complex.
Yeah, I'm currently checking and confirming again, but yeah, I mean, at the end of each round, depending on their positions, player will win a certain number of points. So,
Yeah.
number of tracks 5, number of laps per track 1, number of rounds per track 5, so 25 rounds will be played. And then at the end of 5 maps, the best 4 players move up to the head-to-head phase. And then the bonus points are 100, 80, 60, 45, 30, 20, 10, and 5 points.
It's not that complicated, to be honest.
Yeah, but then you have a different format for the relegation from Trackmania Open Grand League to Trackmania Grand League Challenger again. Then there are different players who are promoting and demoting. Like, really, you have to read through those 27, 28, 29 pages carefully. And then it's sometimes so weirdly written that you really have to understand what is going on.
I think that's something that just a nice visual would instantly explain. It's not that complicated as a system, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just one picture would be able to explain that.
Exactly. I mean,
if created.
I read through the rule book multiple times because me as a caster has to know that. But there are also like so many changes that have been done. Like, I think in October it was already different. Now it makes sense, of course, but still, it's hard. But hey, anyway, I mean, I have more matches to cast for Mime. I hope so, you know, and that will be cool. I mean, it's cool because I never went through a player that goes through the whole promotion relegation, and that's really cool. I really like that, and I think he is gonna make it.
He's one of the favorites for sure, especially after the top 8. Then he's gonna be in the cup kind of rounds format. He's gonna shine there, obviously. So yeah, he's got very good chances. Will be interesting to see.
But yeah, I mean, Mime and Otak already have their bonus points saved. You know, they are in first and second, just depending on what. I also have to say, Mime, that he needs first to get those plus 20 points compared to Otak. But then, of course, for third, fourth, fifth, it's very close. And then sixth as well. But, you know, you really see that there's a huge skill gap in the Trackmania Grand League Challenger compared to Trackmania Grand League.
Yeah,
well,
there's a massive gap in Challenger from the top to the bottom, at least in terms of points. That's one of the main things I was noticing. But I mean, let's not get on the shitting on Revel train again, which I've been at many stations of, I can assure you. But yeah, I mean, I think I do think that complication is something that will, we have discussed at many different times, but we will need to go into at some points in the future because it doesn't really seem like it's getting much better. But one thing I will say is that I feel that, like, put it this way, I've not even really bothered looking into the differences between all of the different tournaments just because, for one, I don't have to anymore. But secondly, it's just like, I just don't. I want to see it happening and then figure it out for myself, you know? It reminds me of when I look at, like, when I look at, I was looking up the official rule books because I was helping with Esports Scotland, like, formulate a basic plan for rules and seeing the likes of your official tournaments have a rules document. It's like 30 pages long. And it's like, there's no need for that, you know? And it feels like Trackmania Grand League's going more and more that way when it's not that complicated. It just needs to be explained in a way that's efficient, you know. But I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, outside of, you know, talking about the rules and shit like that, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Challenger players will size up. I mean, I didn't have the greatest of expectations for the players who had been recently promoted going up to Trackmania Grand League, and I'm still not overly convinced by, of course, some of them have been performing extremely well, but yes, well, some of them have been performing. I believe Worker was still, you know, around about the lower ends of the leaderboard. But I'm torn between if I'm saying that's them, you know, hitting a new gear, or if we're going back to the issues we were talking about, where, you know, the older guys are feeling jaded and or a little disenfranchised with the group stage and so on. Because, I mean, like, we can't look at it seriously and think Carl Jr. is, like, in the bottom half of Trackmania Grand League. Like, that never has, never will be the situation as long as he continues bothering to play it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely convinced on all of their performances, but I'm comfortable now that at the very least, Granadi is going to be, more than safe. Binks, along with them, may even qualify to the top 8 and get into the playoff stage. Worker as well, showing some great capability, but I'm always kind of asking myself the question of who are they going to replace, and we point out people like Tween. We see some others are performing a little bit lower than what the reputation would suggest. But I mean, it's hard to say if someone like Mime or Otak or something like that, or whoever is going to run into Trackmania Grand League and steamroll over everyone. But I'll be very interested to see how that situation develops. And also, I want to see who's going to replace and be replaced from the challenger stage, and see who's going to try moving up the ranks from there.
I mean, the bottom 3 is instantly going out without any matches, and then the top 5, the bottom 5, so 9th to 13th is playing against 4th to 8th of the OGL. So they have a 10-man match, and then the top 5 of that is gonna form the new Trackmania Grand League Challenger.
They do it. Oh, yeah. I like that.
That's also really good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not the numbers exactly, because some people like complain about that, but that was always what I wanted if there was going to be well, before they introduced the OGL, or what's now the Challenger stage. Like, I always wanted an automatic relegation for the worst 1 or 2 player, and then some kind of matchups before that, like just do a general kind of league stage as you would in a football tournament, for example. That's the way I kind of preferred it. So I like the transition from Trackmania Grand League Challenger League to OGL for sure, because it encourages people to really put in the effort, and as we often used the term back when we originally discussed it, it gives you both a carrot and a stick to influence you. The carrot to draw you towards that. If you do get a top 1 or 2 position, you are going to be guaranteed. You're going to have that incentive to perform for more than just, top 8, for example. And you're going to have the stick in the sense of, if you do not perform, you are going to have, like, if you don't get top 3, you're going to have a consequence. You're going to have to go against a player who is very well regarded. You're going to have to fight for your spot. If you no longer perform, you're not going to have that opportunity. If you perform even worse, you're going to, there's a kind of, there's a progression of it, not just like the way it used to be, where people are going into fucking the combine with like massive point advantages over other people. I don't necessarily like that. So it's nice to see that at least that side of things seems to be quite well figured out.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that is also mentioned here from Nixotica and also from SRK, things that I really want to pick up is that, only Worker really has to worry about getting replaced. Yeah, I think so as well, but it's not because Worker is really like a bad player, but I think he maybe needs one more season outside of the Trackmania Grand League. And then I think if he comes back, he would be in the same state as Mime, for example, and then just dominate and also retain his spot, or just fight for maybe the top 8 or something like that. We've seen the development from Binks as well. He was surprisingly back in 2019 in the final. Was it 2020? With the French regionals? Yeah, 2020 it was. And then he has improved so much, and I think Worker is at that same state right now. And then also the nationality rule discussion for the Trackmania Grand League Challenger. I think that just means that, for example, I think there cannot be more Frenchies in there. Yeah, there cannot be too many Frenchies in there. That's what they're saying. But let's just take it here. Nixotica Fakely Revolution right now, bottom 3. Let's say Dark, Carl, and Link. Link I'm saying already. And Dark, Carl, and someone else are in the top 3. So they cannot relegate or promote into the Trackmania Grand League Challenger. Or did I understand that wrong now? So are there then play coming in from Belgium, from Germany, from other countries? How did this, like, what is that? I didn't understand that.
I mean, like, let me put a massive disclaimer on this. This is I mean, apart from when they weren't allowed into the Challenger stage to start with, this is the first I'm hearing of it, and I am devoid of a lot of context, as in I have not read the rule myself. But you know me, guys, I talk before I think, and I've talked before I'm even informed. So, but just if I can give my very first impression of the simple statement that if someone gets eliminated, from what SRK is written there, that only a French player can be replaced in Trackmania Grand League Challenger League if a French player goes out is absolutely unspeakable. Like, I think that's one of the most unfair things I have heard in connection with Trackmania Grand League, be it OGL, be it when we used to talk about how some people were going to get replaced or weren't even considered in the combine. Only certain people were getting offered to sponsors and all the rest of that kind of shit. I think that's ridiculous. And I think that's ridiculous to explain what I mean by that, in the sense that you are trying to enforce diversity through exclusion, not inclusion. And like in this kind of sense, you're going to say to people that you might be good enough, and you might be well good enough to get part of Trackmania Grand League Challenger stage, but you're not allowed because you're from France. Like, I can't begin to fathom how stupid this is when what has been our complaint for the last fucking 5 years of Trackmania is that Nadeo have only focused on the French community. Well, not only, shall we say, the French community has received, be it favoritism, be it a more of a focused, thing towards them. Not necessarily just to say from Nadeo, of course, but all the big tournaments have been held in France. The game was announced in France and in French. Of course, Zerator Cup takes a massive influence and influx of French people to the game, and there's no one's. You can't necessarily point at that being, okay, it's just Nadeo's fault or it's just whatever's fault. But, I mean, that would be like, if a game's only in the UK and you say, all right, we want people from other countries to be part of it. So if you qualify, you're not getting to play because of where you're from. And I really, really don't like that. I feel it's horrendously unfair. It's people who then gets eliminated if these people... I mean, that introduces a whole number of question marks. Does that mean Revolution's fucking immune from getting eliminated? Are we just going to go down the order until we find someone who suits what we want? That's ludicrous, It's
super unfair.
Yeah, I mean, fucking hell, man, I can't even get the words together to talk about this. It's so terrible. There's so many times I've been able to argue a decision that I have found controversial from Nadeo by thinking, I'm sure they can see it this way, right? I'm sure this reason maybe makes sense to them. I can see it from their perspective. I try and remove my own bias from this. I see what they want from this. I see that they want more diverse nationalities in their Trackmania Grand League Challenger League. They perhaps want more diverse nationalities in their upper leagues. But you can't do that now. The boat for that the ship has sailed. You now have a massive majority of French players in your game. You can't just suddenly say you can't play because you're better than everyone else. Fucking hell, man. I want to know, it's like that meme where the little guys are sitting in the boardroom and both of them are just brown-nosing and suggesting something that's just going to make someone else happy. And then the person who actually comes up with a reasonable solution actually just gets thrown out the window of the hotel room. It's like that little meme. I want to know if everyone in these conversations agrees with this, because this is fucking moronic. And I can't excuse this. I can't excuse this. If it's not misrepresented by anyone in the chat, which, I mean, it always could be, of course, that this is absolutely unforgivable.
Well, there's always the chance that it's just the rulebook, but it's false, or it's meant in a different kind of way, or it's just not even updated anymore and already got.
That's their responsibility, though. That's their responsibility.
Yeah, it's their responsibility. It doesn't make it good, but it makes it at least somewhat better, because then it's then at least it's not gonna happen. It's still bad that the rulebook would be wrong in that way, but
no.
It would be worse if it actually is true, because I definitely fully agree with you. It's stupid. I can't find any good way of thinking about it, making it a good idea. It's just not. It's fully unfair. You know, we already had the similar talk about how they chose for the TMGLC, and there I was like, yeah, you know, I don't really mind it that much for the TMGLC, you know. There it's a different situation, but they are already there. I said, if they do that, however, for the normal relegation stuff, that would be fucked up, and that's basically what that would be now if the rule is put up like that. So I definitely fully disagree with that rule. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Just imagine what an enrichment that would have been. Revolution being replaced for Carl. Just saying, one name, just one example. And also had a YouTube comment. I think, why is the nationality even important in this regard? Maybe for the orgs, but hey, look at that. How many people are orgless? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 people are orgless, and they are. I mean, it's not even like that they care, really, who's in an org and who not. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's the best
only
player
people
will
in TMGL who don't have an org are people who are not from France.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so wrong. You know, what are you gonna say about it? Just, you know, inclusion here. It's I don't know. I seriously don't know what to say about that. Just
forced
don't do
diversity.
it. Yeah, just forced diversity. What the fuck?
But that's not fostering the competition. That's actually killing it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for a company which has had a direction which is steered inwards towards France for such a long time, because we've mentioned in dribs and drabs throughout a lot of the previous episodes, for example, when we talked about Mass trying to expand the Trackmania's or tournament reach, shall we say, through the ESL ladder, not ladder, through the ESL group, in the sense of having more tournaments. Yeah, exactly. Through more locations, through the ESL program, for example, and we all heard those kind of rumors about how Trackmania was very close to getting, I believe it was the DreamHack Open Rotterdam or something like that. We see the death of events like the Nest Cup, and pretty much, as I said, anything that took place out of France, other than extremely small, small events like the Magyar LAN and things like that. We have seen Trackmania being, for a long time, being focused very much inward, and now is trying to reach out to other countries. But I feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot if they do it the way they are doing it. Imagine if they done this. Okay, we want more French people, so we'll exclude everyone else. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't see. Of course, it's too late now, but we had the additional nations qualifiers. No one was really happy about that. You know, we had attempts at diversity with inviting Matt to Trackmania Grand League. Not saying that, of course, he wasn't a good player, but he was not
still for some seasons.
He was not good enough to be in TMGL. Other people may say different on that, but there was other people who were far more proven competitors than he was. You know, we have decisions like that are made for the purpose of diversity. You know, and do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the general approach in trying to obtain more numbers to be watching your product. Is that they're trying to do it? Ideally, you want natural growth, right? You want natural interest coming from more organizations. You want more countries involved. You want to expand your reach, but it seems to be Nadeo's version of that is paying a big streamer to come and cast a tournament, paying someone to do this, and paying someone to stream the game when it first came out. Or now that you're not doing that, it's okay, we're going to restrict an entire region from being able to ascend in the game. fuck off, man. Like, I just can't. I cannot stand that. Like, if you're someone who's involved in the decision making process and the deal for that, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Absolutely ashamed of yourself.
And also the French community is really having a struggle right now. You know, you hardly see Brent streaming, you see Yannick streaming, but numbers are going down. You know, and just excluding a community by that, and just like isolating a certain amount of player pool. You know, if you know,
especially the biggest one, the biggest player pool by far.
It's not a good thing, and you know, we were talking about that French dominance, and it's good that something like that is there. That a lot of people are playing. You know, also those French competitions. It's a French game, but just like excluding a player just because he's French. Come on,
that's like, we don't want it to be a French game anymore. Let's ban all the French people. Like, I can't.
You know, it's just a rule that potentially may have may change a decision, but it's just the fact that it's there. It's just setting the wrong example completely. No, it's not like they say, "Oh, you're a French person, we don't want you TMGL." It's just that they are saying, if you're a French player and if you're equally good as maybe, for example, let's say a German, your chance of getting into TMGLC is probably not really way lower than his, but it's in theory it's a little bit slower than his. It's just already it's just unfair, you know. Like, I mean, it's just a very bad example. It's not how you approach things.
Maybe that's the issue again, you know, with the forcing exposure thingy. But I mean, you've seen how this worked out on the M&M channel, you know. You've seen how this worked out. Of course, you know, Ari is a nice person. I don't want to like trash talk her in any way, but you know, what happens when you bring someone in who has a League of Legends established community, you know, also a lot of followers, she's doing a great job, and then let her to cast a niche racing game. You think
I think you should go more into detail, because I don't think everybody instantly knows what exactly you're talking about.
So in the Trackmania Grand League, M&M was approached by Nadeo, and they had to like grow their numbers. So M&M thought it could be a cool idea to take a content creator from M&M to cast with me together. Yeah, so that Ari in this regard and me are casting. I thought it's a good idea because she is a very, very good person to talk to, and general also like very, very chill. You know, you can talk about everything with her, but you know, just consider that, Paul. You know, maybe you've never played League of Legends, and all of a sudden you have to cast that game. You have no clue what is going on. And that is the same.
I can do it because I'm amazing. But anyway.
But no, I mean, you get the point. And maybe you're not even a caster and stuff like that. So, like, it was not really fitting. And I can understand that. And, you know, we were forcing, like, Nadeo was forcing kind of to grow the stream and establishing a community. It didn't work out that well. Yeah, we had some more views, okay, but also because I rated some people over before the caster started. And then I was like, okay, you know, maybe Hans is a better replacement for that, because Hans is also like into Trackmania. He is invested into that, and people wanted to see him casting, you know, and this is how you grow. You know, of course you grow inside the game, but why do you want someone to force watching the game and seeing it for the first time in an esport event that is way too complicated to understand? And I just don't get that, you know. It's like, it was such a, like, again, they have a weird mentality, a weird concept behind the Trackmania Grand League, which is working out, yes, but I don't see this concept being valid or being sustainable for the next couple of years if they go and approach it like that. Also, what happened to Nekra and almost to Geek, you know, they were not supposed to cast, and it's, I don't know, it's way too dank.
I think one of the words you used there, which I do feel is very important when we talk about this side of things, is sustainable, right? Now, it is not sustainable to give, because of course the hardest hit region by this ruling would be France, because they have a large majority and they're the ones at the biggest risk of falling victim to this rule. Is it sustainable to then tell your biggest player base that you have less of a chance to be considered to be promoted? I mean, if this is going to be the ruling, I'm assuming it is, because if that's what they've written, then, you know, on their head be it. If they're, you know, if they're going to break their word on that, then that's just as bad, in my opinion. But anyway, what I think is if then like it will be like when the Nadal came around and says, right, we're not doing tech tournaments anymore. We're doing multi-style tournaments. The tech players, like you saw a lot of them who didn't want to transition to multi-style, feeling very neglected, feeling very let down. And regardless of whether you would look at that as being, oh yeah, they should have, adjusted with the times, or this was a long time coming. However your field is on that, it's not a good thing when your largest player base, which was the tech community, had felt abandoned. They had felt in some case like a mild sense of betrayment. That Nadal would then says, okay, we're not doing this anymore. So I mean, I know I felt it like when I'd been training tech to get to the top level for a few years. Then they turn around and move the goalposts. You know what I mean? Like I get that feeling. And now if you're going, and what the result of that was, is we saw a lot of people getting left behind. We saw a lot of players going back to TMNF, staying on TM2, not participating in the future of Trackmania being my main point of this. They didn't continue to play multi-style tournaments. They didn't continue to participate in Nadal's projects. And don't get me wrong, this is by no means the majority, but you did lose a percentage, And I feel if you're then taking an action which does severely affect the French community, albeit, of course, it will only affect one or two people directly, it will indirectly affect people thinking like, oh, this guy just got excluded just because he's French. And that will be, the result of that. You will see people, maybe think twice. Do I want to put 100 hours worth of training into this if there's a chance I won't get included just simply because I'm French? You risk losing people behind on that. And the main thing for that, it's not a sustainable approach, like especially with how French dominated the game is, and with what we are saying about like dragging influencers into the game. What are we going to do when that well runs dry? When we've converted all we can from Trilux, Are we just going to say bye, get another one? Like what do you is your extent of your vision 50,000 viewers who never change? I mean, sure, Trilux might attract more people coming into the game, like purely from the fact that he grows as an influencer. But are you just relying on individuals' reach to get indirectly passed to you? Like, yeah, I don't like it. I mean, obviously, this is not the full picture because otherwise you wouldn't see much growth in places like America and all the rest of that. So clearly there is other efforts and other things are working. But when this is what the spotlight is on, you need to make sure you're representing yourself smartly, both like in a sense of the face that you're presenting to the public is one that exudes professionalism and exudes that is leading the way in this kind of sense, not constantly getting caught in embarrassments. Regardless of, I mean, that's the one thing I think about Nadal is that there's so many things they have done that have either been poorly worded, poorly phrased, poorly executed, that might have been for a good reason, but the way they've presented it has created a controversy. Like there was an issue we were talking about a few weeks ago, I can't even remember what it was, and the whole thing was that they missaid what they meant and created, oh yeah, the fucking caster thing, when they made a big deal about how people had to push for extra influencers and stuff, and then said actually we don't really care about it that much because other people can do it without getting an influencer. Like they created this massive shitstorm for nothing, and if they don't stand behind this rule for the French, they're creating another massive shitstorm over nothing. Like, dumbfounds me how that could happen. Like, if you imagine League of Legends having that much controversy on like a monthly basis, people would be losing their jobs. Yes.
But that's the spirit from Nadeo. That's what they think is correct, and that's like the main. Or it seems that they think it's correct. I don't want to pinpoint anyone, or I don't want to say that. But for me, it makes the impression because it's not really transparent. You don't really know too much from the inside. you know, and that what seems to be their approach, because it's not happening for the first time, as you've mentioned already.
You know, guys, it might be a little bit weird coming exactly from me, but I think we've been ranting for this quite a bit now on this point, and it makes sense because it's definitely something that is. I mean, it just shows how severe we think about it and how severe of a problem just the thinking process behind that rule is. But I think it's time to maybe move on to something different, because we are gonna talk about TMGL next week and probably the week after again anyway. Something I always wanted to talk about a little bit more, actually.
Backwards maps. No.
Backwards maps. No. It's called no, not normal backwards maps. I wanted to talk about upside down underwater backward maps. Just to get it
with
clear.
magnets, please, and reactor boosts.
Without magnets. Actually, it works better without magnets, because you can like make plastic and then squeeze the car between two floors, and you can basically squeeze the car between two platforms, and the lower one has to be like plastic, and then because of the plastic, you don't get acceleration penalty at all, and you can just drive on the anyway. That's not what I wanted to talk about at all, actually. I wanted to talk about TMFL. Because I don't know why. And I mean, I kind of understand why, because TMGL kind of overshadows TMFL. But just looking at the sheer size of TMFL and of how many people play it, how overwhelmingly positive everybody's feedback about TMFL is, I think we definitely neglected talking about it and just deserving it the screen time the event deserves, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's I think a good point that you're mentioning there. I mean, it had more than 1,000 players this season alone, and it's also an established event. You know, third season we have just experienced. It has been a very, very huge success. There was one issue back in the second season where one thing didn't work out, but I cannot agree more with you. I mean, what Boss Bravo and Nano and all the people behind that are doing, you know, not to mention everyone else who's building a map and who is also behind Boss Bravo and Nano. It's incredible what they have just stamped out of the ground, you know, just out of nowhere. This tournament was coming up 1 year ago, and now we already have the third season. 1,000 players are playing, well-established tournament, good format. Yeah, it's perfect, you know.
I mean, Scotty, how much do you know about TMFL?
I don't know a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, TMFL is always something I've been very much on the outside of, and I say that. I mean, like, it feels like Trackmania Grand League's only just something I complain about now, and I don't even actually ingest, you know. And I do feel guilty of always being attracted towards something, because there's always some shitstorm that I need to complain about. I don't need to, but you know what I'm like, guys. So I often have things fly under the radar that seem to be pretty much everything else but TMGL. So yeah, I'm guilty of missing a lot of the stuff about TMFL, but luckily I have you guys to keep me up to date on that, and I do catch it every now and then. But I must admit, it's not something I seek out. But you know, that's more because I am just simply not as invested in Trackmania, rather than it not being deserving of my attention.
Yeah, so Trackmania Formula League is literally, I mean, you have played the seeding probably yourself. Yeah, I think it was 30 players beforehand, and now we have 50 players in one division. So the players are ranked into one division, and then they play against players in their skill level. This time we had 20 divisions, so the top 1,000 is qualified. And each
There's
Sunday
not top 1,000, depending on how many. There are as many divisions as needed.
No. There were only 1,000
Wait, really?
people. Yeah, there were only 1,000. I actually checked that up. The 1,000.
I mean, okay, I guess getting top 1,000 should be doable, though.
Yeah, it is.
If you want to participate.
So then you have 20 divisions, and according to those divisions, you get a set amount of points based on your division. Yeah. And in those divisions, you can also promote and demote when you overtake someone. I think it's an average of 3 that you need to catch up to the other person. So let's say you get a base amount of points for just attending the race, not even finishing, of, let's say, 100 in Division 20. And in Division 19, you get a base amount of points of 150 for just attending the race. And for third position, you get 60 points. You know, you make up with points. You get more points than the last person in Division 19 if you are third in Division 20. I think that makes sense. And so is how the players are promoting and demoting in the divisions. It's not that easy to understand, but you have that one, and you have 10 races, and each race is consisting of a free practice, 20 minutes. You're gonna see the map and also see it with the tire and fuel, how it's working. Then you have the qualifying, which is 2 laps, 1 flying lap, where the top 13 is getting the most amount of points. And then you have the live race, which is usually 45 minutes long, and people have to take care of their tire and fuel management.
Yeah, so it's basically an endurance race with extra steps. Basically, it's basically like an actual Formula 1 race with tire degradation that changes depending how you play. You have rain and stuff like that, and without trying to give you my opinion about how I feel about certain things, it's just plainly said, it's in my opinion the best Trackmania event we have currently. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you know, I like endurance races, but it's just seeing how many people compete there. You have 50 people competing against you every single race. You don't even have to understand how relegation and that kind of stuff works.
Yeah, it's hard.
It basically, it basically just means if you're like really good in your division, then automatically the system decides, yeah, you're probably too good for this division, and ranks you up in a new division where you're probably gonna have like more and more fun battles against other people of more close to your skill level. That's basically what it's trying to do. But it's just really sick to see how much you can achieve in Trackmania, and just the game mode itself is just amazing. Just how much work they put into that. The maps are always really nice. Yeah, just you know, I mean, the 3rd season now is over, obviously, since the 10th race has stopped, and unlike TMGL, there are no relegate. There is no final season or stuff like that, because you don't need it, because the point system is normal. You don't have, you know, you just drive the 10 races, and whoever got the most points basically wins it, which this season happened to be Rosa. It's a little bit of a sad story with Rosa and Patrose, since Patrose basically kind of only lost because I had a disconnect in one of the races. But you know, it's a fun event, so it's not that it's not like he's gonna cry about it now. It's unfortunate, but it just happens. But it's definitely one of the most fun events I've ever played in Trackmania, and I always eagerly evade every single race. And I'm really looking forward to the new season as well. I don't know when it's gonna start. Probably in a couple of months or so. But yeah, I mean, I can say that in the background, we are gonna try certain things with the game mode. There have been certain ideas to improve it, and we are gonna try those out. At least some of them. There's gonna be one like closed alpha race, which is not really closed. It's basically everyone that applies for it can get into the alpha. But yeah, there's gonna be at least one alpha race where we're gonna test something new, which is hopefully gonna make it even more interesting to play. Yeah, but other than that, you know, I just wanted to like mention the TMFL, because it's like, honestly, I mean, I think you might hear it, but I just love that event.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely no secret that you do, but it's one of those things. I mean, it's not exactly a bad thing, because if you think something is good, then you should continue to make to spread that to other people. You know, like, I mean, I've always been a proponent of the things I enjoyed, like the 4 Styles Cup, or like the Spartan Cups. You know, the little kind of things that the E-Corp guys always brought about. You know, it deserves praise, and that's the most important part for it. So I think TMFL definitely deserves more of the spotlight, and I would love to see some resources going to TMFL that they don't have access to in this kind of sense, because I think Trackmania, I mean, we talk about some of the strengths Trackmania as a game has, and it's just the pure, like, there is almost no limit to your creativity, you know, either be it as a mapper, as a skinner, you know, with whatever tournament format you want to go to, you know, like, even if you want to go deeper, like your server controllers and all the rest of that, like, there is a lot of places you can really express your creative desire in Trackmania, and I think that we should always highlight and promote the unique aspects of our game. You know, promote things like a TMFL, promote things like, you know, Shit Cup, or what's it called, Kake, or Yeah, Shitfest. Sorry.
Guys, Monday at 8 p.m. every single week, Shitfest. If you enjoy
Was it
Oh,
Shitfest,
yesterday?
it's back now, if I'm
yeah,
correct.
it is back since a while already, since like 2
Yeah.
months, I think. I don't know.
Okay,
I
well,
don't play it. Sorry.
just shows you how
I
fucking
just
far out I am. But anyway, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of things that deserve highlighting in the game, and Trackmania Formula League is definitely one of the most deserving. And who knows, maybe one day we see this being adopted as, maybe a sub tournament, or rising even higher. Like, I mean, we saw the old F1 tournaments and Trackmania getting a good bit of attention, and I don't really see any reason why TMFL can't reach some bigger heights than it has already been to.
it's definitely getting bigger from season to season. So I'm really interested to see where we are gonna end up.
I don't see this tournament really getting like a prize pool or anything like that. Maybe for the top division, but because it's more of a fun event, and the whole thing is funded by the community, with donating to the servers, to maintain the servers, of course, and stuff like that. It's quite expensive, but
Yeah.
there was no cash prize thus far for like the top 3, right?
No, there wasn't. I don't know how I personally would even think about a cash prize myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you can't
Pay for
argue
a race
against
win.
it, but I don't know. I don't really mind it at all, to be honest. I just mind, I have certain things about the TMFL I don't like, and I would like them to improve or get changed completely. But other than that, I'm just enjoying playing it. That's just the way it is. That's just something that TMGL never was and probably never will be for me. Like, I just enjoy playing it. That's the thing with TMGL for me personally. Just the map format itself. Just looking at the maps, I played them for maybe like 5-10 minutes. I'm already annoyed at them. That's just the complete opposite of TMFL. And I think a lot of people agree with that, since TMFL is just something that even a beginner can just do. I mean,
True
just show a beginner a TMGL map. Like, he's gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? How am I supposed to ever finish this? And you can't just throw a beginner on TMFL, tell him, yeah, look at your fuel, you're gonna have to pit. That's easy to understand, right? And just the driving part of it, he's just gonna figure it. Like,
True.
that's just
They're just gonna play and figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you
that's
can
true.
just hop in and play. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to train before. You can just be there and just be there and play.
Of course, Shorty enjoys it because you don't have to train for it. But yeah, I know what you mean. But I would just like to see it having as best a chance to grow as possible. And too often, the prestige of a tournament is tied to how much money it's able to bring in. And I think Trackmania Formula League, by offering something unique and also something very well structured, is hopefully able to extend its growth and continue to. I mean, I want people in Trackmania to be coming into the Formula. Coming into the Formula League. I want them to be coming into like the game because they seen a TMFL video online. Or something like, because that's what other people are like sometimes. Yes, they wanted to try Trackmania Grand League because they've watched it online. That's what's in the spotlight. I'd love to see TMFL get more of that, as it definitely does deserve it.
I think some people actually have started that because Trilux has uploaded the Trackmania Formula League video, and they just see how accessible this format is. For example, there are a lot of people who do that. And yeah, it's just cool because people are improving. Also, a player like Cyril, for example, I was seeing a comment under a video. I think it was the Trackmania Grand League test step or something like that. It's like, yeah, thank you, Trilux, for uploading this video, blah, blah, blah. I just started Trackmania because of that. Like, was so wholesome, was very cool. But, people are starting the game because they're discovering from a content creator, yes. But then, of course, also, the format has to be, addressing towards them. And I think that's what is very good with the Trackmania Formula League, as you've mentioned, that it's a very, very easy going format. You play against players on your skill level. It's just a good thing. And I really see this format, or this whole thing in general, growing. People have a lot of fun in that, even in the lower divisions. It's kind of unfortunate that we didn't see the Trackmania Grand League players playing anymore in the races.
Yeah. It's unfortunate from multiple point of views because they technically take away spots, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know. I would like do a new rule, like if you don't play 2 or 3 races in a row, that you're just out.
Yep.
Or you can
I
just.
literally proposed that if you don't play the second race in a row without telling before, because on the website right now you can tell and say, yeah, I'm not gonna attend this race, so you lose less points if you do that.
Yeah, that's what Dexter didn't do, and that's why he lost the 3rd place.
Yes, exactly, but he doesn't care about that. So anyway,
okay.
but
Dexter,
yeah, so
caring.
but basically, like if you don't play 2 races in a row without even telling before and just throw them out.
Yeah, I would agree, or just say, because it was foreseeable for Spam, Massa, Scrappy, that they are not playing.
Already last season with Massa.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Massa just won the seeding, I think, and then didn't play. It's so bad, like really. They just take so many spaces away, and with that, the divisions just get closer and closer together, because we have seen, for example, by the likes of Peking Answer, who was promoting from Division 2, he got into the top 10. I think twice or 3 times, and that is just an enrichment for the race, and the more the merrier, you know, the more fun we have with those people in there. And I think that's just the case.
People should join me in cruising. The more the merrier, guys. Come on, join the fun.
It's just good.
Join the danger.
Join the danger.
Sure, he's just an absolute savage. You're just paving the way, a trendsetter.
Well, I'm literally currently like I was talking to Boss Bravo a lot already. So what we are trying to do, I can briefly explain. I don't think I'm telling anyone anything that they shouldn't know. So basically, what TMFL is currently trying to do, the main issue right now is you have like tires and stuff like that, and you have to change your driving a little bit, but there isn't really any incentive of possibly like not drifting certain turns where drifting is faster. So basically, when drifting the turn is faster and not drifting the turn maybe loses you 0.1 or 0.2, you still want to drift the turn. Like you don't really want to take different line for trying to save the tires, because it just doesn't work out, man. It just in the end it sadly doesn't work out. So it doesn't really, the way you have to approach it doesn't really change that much. And what we are trying is changing a little bit in the fuel calculation now in an alpha race. So basically that you have to decide on which turns to drift and which to not drift. So that potentially not drifting a turn where you only lose, let's say, 0.1 with a no-slide line over the drift, where that maybe no-sliding that line is going to be better because you're going to save tires. Or at least depending on your playing style, at least. That's the idea.
Yeah, and I mean, Patrosa and Rosal were definitely the prime examples. Rosal and they're so different playing types, even though they're so close together, you know. And it's just great to see, just letting a race win by a pit stop, you know, slowing down, being at 130, and not like being half a second or 1 second faster in that pit stop. It's great. And then also the last pit stop was cool with the neo slide with the 180 hairpin. I really like that.
Did they actually neo slide that?
I would have done that.
No, I didn't. Way too risky. Nah.
Neo slide is risky. Come on, we played a 17,000 neo slide map.
Yeah, Toby. but
this turn is in your blood.
Did you even ever play TMFL yourself? You don't know.
I played the prologue. I played it a bit, but
the feeling of playing multiple laps with really shit tires and then instantly getting the good tires again, you're just gonna drive badly. Like you have to adjust to that first. You can't instantly make a new slide.
You just have to commit, bro.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time,
Copian.
New slides are definitely very powerful in TMFL. Yep. So definitely are.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the casting site. Just analyzing what people are doing, talking with Artipic about that. It's working really nice. Yep. It's just a very, very good combination that we both have, or that we have in that thing. It's really enjoyable, and glad that I also I'm grateful to cast this event in English as a main caster, because I'm really enjoying it. It's super nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I said, the main point for me is Trackmania Formula League definitely deserves more of a spotlight shone on it. I mean, where that comes from, I don't know. But definitely, I think it has a lot of potential. But also, it's one of those things that I will say it has a lot of potential, but it is continually realizing its potential. It is something which is rapidly progressing and excelling, which I think is very important. You know, I mean, I've seen like a few of the videos of like some of the gorgeously made maps that have been part of the league. I mean, either that they have fit the series very well in terms of how the map is driven, but also visually very impactful. You know, we see a lot of people getting hyped around this, and I mean, it's as much as, of course, I don't know Shorty's tournament taste as well as he does himself, but it says a lot when someone like Shorty is very excited for an event. You know.
That's actually true, yeah, true.
Yeah,
I'm not excited for a lot of things in Trackmania
yeah.
anymore. That's very true.
Yeah, and that is a high compliment, you know. When you're attracting people who are not normally invested in many other things in Trackmania. Of course, you could just look at that. Oh, it's just his personal taste, but whatever, you know, it works for one person, so that's a good thing in my books. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah, because only Shorty matters to me. That's the part you've been missing. But yeah, I mean, I think it's. Yeah, I think it's a very fair point that we should devolve kind of a little bit more attention to TMFL. And like I said, I've felt bad for excluding things like this. You know, there's a lot of little projects out there in Trackmania that have also deserved a little bit of our love. You know, for example, a lot of the, like, ICE is now getting a little bit of a kind of tournament circuit around it now, you know, having its own fall season, which, having its own campaign season, like everyone's just remixing maps in ICE and there's little competitions around that. Or, you know,
competition for the second place. Anyway.
I mean,
yeah.
It feels like ICE tournaments are stronger than Dirt tournaments at the moment, to be honest. Which is, I never thought I'd be saying that.
Dirt is just boring in the new game, to be honest. I mean, Dirt is not bad playing wise, like, but it's just, it lost a lot of the charm that it had before. So it's very different compared to the old games. So so it lost a lot of. There are like 2 or 3 people that are like still playing the new game out of the old Dirt community. So like,
yeah,
obviously the old Dirt community doesn't enjoy it. It's just very different, you know. It fits really nicely in multi-style maps, and like it's super smooth and stuff like that. It's nice to play in general, but it's just not really something I don't know. Personally, I think it just lost its charm with the way it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do feel that some of that is like, it reminds me of when they made moves to remove bugs with Mania Planet 4's update, and now with Trackmania 2020. And like, some people like, yeah, you know, I preferred it when there was bugs and stuff like that, and they did often motion that as being something which you know, resulted in Trackmania losing a bit of its charm. And I do feel some of that is, you know, what is happening with Dirt, because, well, of course, I am not a thoroughbred Dirt player. You know, I have played quite a good bit of Dirt. I know how to play Dirt.
That's cool.
And even if I can't execute it as well as they do, I know the theory behind it. You know, I'm just not as very well practiced on it. And I do feel some of it is that they prefer the way the blocks were, and it's much simpler now. It's much it's not as intricate, shall I say? I believe
have
that's
as much depth, like,
yeah. It doesn't.
Wise.
It doesn't have as much depth in it. Sorry, and it's not as intricate. However, I mean because I mean the blocks that were part of the initial block pack for Trackmania 2 Stadium have been remade in a new game.
Yep.
I believe Effect was
no
the one. But yeah, that's the point I get down to. You don't get bumps, and it's like, is that what we're missing? You know,
not really completely. You also have different shape with the uphill turns, which changes how to play them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to say that. Yeah, Dirt people, stop fucking complaining and play Dirt. I mean, I'm sure, because it is one of those things. Like, some people prefer playing TMNF over any of the other games, and I find the differences to that to be super, like, intangible. You know, like if I go and play TMNF for months and I go back to play the new Trackmania, I really don't notice that much of a difference. I know a difference exists. I know differences. What do you mean there is? I know
there is huge differences in the games.
Well,
not just because of the blocks. I agree with that, but Trackmania, I had this conversation with Hans like 2.5 weeks ago as well, with the dirt being more accessible now. But the game just feels way more blockier than Trackmania Nations in this regard, and that's why dirt is so much easier. You have the land books, you have this, you have like you adjust your lines differently. You don't approach from the very left on a dirt uphill or before a dirt uphill and that. And I think of course it's still Trackmania. You have the same physics, but dirt feels different in my opinion, and
it's just a completely different way of playing them, right?
It's a complete different way of playing, and still for me, Trackmania Nations dirt is still my best dirt style, and I couldn't really get used to Trackmania 2020 and also to the new game. Kind of, it's going a bit better now, but
yeah,
the blocks really make the game, and you can really see the blockiness. Every block can be connected. You know, you don't have those smooth transitions in Trackmania Nations. You don't have them. You have landing bugs. You know, you have bugs on the left when you just land on the dirt transition. And yeah, it feels different, but I think, or it feels different, but I think at the end it's still Trackmania. But there is indeed a difference if you go very in depth. You know, those last 5% are there, the difference.
You know, I didn't really want to say it as a bad point. I just wanted to I think it's just something that is definitely there to mention. But in general, I would say in the new game, the styles themselves lost a little bit of their charm as individuals compared, but like they work way better together now. I mean, that's obviously what you want when you're going for multi-style maps, you know, TMGL for example. So you can see that that's the direction that you wanted to take, and that's what they did. It's just, you know, the side effect of making multi-style so well working as well as it is now, that just the individual styles lost a little bit of their original charm. So I can understand that like full dirt players are just gonna stay in Nations Forever, for example. That's just normal. You also have like tech players that stay in Nations Forever or TM2 because they don't like the tech in the new game, because there's also changes to tech. It's not only dirt that changed, also tech changed in some aspects, and that's just, you know, just normal. You know, nothing is bad about that.
It's just normal if you have 20 games that are out, that the community is splitting.
Yeah, I mean, if Nadir, you know, Nadir obviously focused on multi-style in the new game, so obviously that's the result of that in a way, you know.
Yeah, it's just a natural order of things that if you if this is your direction, it results in some things becoming a little bit diluted, so to speak. It loses its edge, and as you say, it loses its charm, and that's just the way it is, you know. Some things will survive easier than others, like something like tech full speed, because, you know, by nature it wasn't down to an inherent part of the game as like a surface. It's just simply the way people build blocks. I mean, so that's not as much of an issue. So yeah, definitely I can understand why things like dirt take such a hit. And yeah, individual styles do take their own hits, and you see that from little kind of splinters of the community staying in different parts of the game. But it's always a kind of interesting subject to broach, as how Trackmania has evolved from different game to different game, and maybe that's something I think we could dedicate an episode to at some point.
Yeah. I was thinking the same, actually. We could
maybe also awards before the end of the year, that we do like Trackmania awards just a bit. There was also
that's something we should maybe tell them. Yeah.
I mean,
kind of pressure us into doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all up for doing Trackmania awards, but we are having absolutely no public voting. I can assure you of that. I'm not dealing with that shit again. But
yeah, definitely not.
What is your favorite map of the year, Scotty? And I'm like, yes, I've not.
Oh,
you know,
no.
that's what one of you is going to be hosting an award show. Let me tell you that. But yeah, it is coming to that time of year, and yeah, a few things to look forward to. But I mean, to round today's stuff off, I mean, you guys will know better than I would. What have we got to look forward to in the next couple of weeks?
Trackmania Grand League.
Thank you.
Trackmania Grand League.
Trackmania Grand League.
Grand League. Grand League.
There's 2 things. Holy
I mean,
shit.
we had so many great maps that have been released. So the casual side of Trackmania is, dude, that getting over it map. You know that game?
Oh
Paul?
yeah, I'm still. You know, we can still look forward to that map. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I still enjoy. I still like watching that map.
Yeah, TSCS is also there too. It has started last week. That's for sure. But yeah, there was like Vampus was coming out. Not saying that this is a great map, but no, it's okay. But yeah, the getting over it map. So it's a 20-minute checkpointless RPG map where you have like different stages, and if you fall down, like let's say on a beam, you drop into a hole, and then you fall down 5 stages or something.
It's like getting over it, but as a Trackmania map
Mm-hmm.
to like make it as short as possible.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
yeah, it was really
so
great
much
to play.
fun. So
much fun the first playthrough.
Even though a lot of pain was involved, but hey.
Yeah, but it's
fine.
You know, like I liked when it's about, you know, finishing it and not about you know, obviously Trackmania always and almost always is always for the fastest time possible. But I like it when it sometimes isn't about the fastest time possible, but about like finishing it.
Agreed.
I mean, Kaki is similar. Kaki is also different.
Yeah, it's a different vibe, yeah.
Yeah. Kaki has a different vibe, but the idea is the same, you know. In Kaki, you also just want to finish. You don't care about your time. You just want to finish it.
Yeah, but I mean, TSCS, not too many events coming up at the end of the year. But I think in January, February, we have some events. Full Street Major Series playoffs, I think, are coming up as well. And we had all the 3 or 4 events, and then some other competitions. Benelux Cup is coming up, also will be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
well,
also
definitely.
was a new form, full speed tournament announced.
Ooh,
Full
interesting.
speed survival or something like that. I don't know.
Evo's full speed survival.
Exactly,
Yeah, I did see that.
Evo.
Yeah,
it was on Trackmania News Discord, so I don't know.
Yeah, I only saw that just before we went live, actually, so I'll need to catch up on that. But I mean, yeah, that's definitely something we perhaps mention in next week's podcast, and I suppose that's going to be at least for us tonight, as we don't have Eirik here to tell us all about his event like you guys did. So at least we had topics last time, my God. Whereas now you have just had me to deal with. Like, yeah, bring Scotty up to date and everything of the last 2 weeks. Anyway, yeah, we'll leave you lovely folks to it. It has been episode something of Trackmania's best podcast, and I suppose only podcast, of Let's Talk Trackmania, brought to you by none other than LuckersTurbo, Shorty, and myself, TMScotsman, and as always, the most important man in the group, Erwin Weber, and of course, as always, on behalf of ESAC.GG, and most important part of the podcast is all of you beautiful folk who join us week after week and wave after wave. But I hope everyone has a spectacular Tuesday, enjoys the rest of their week and their evening. That will be it for us, and we will see you next time. Good night for now.
Good night.
Give your best smile.